Hi, I'm Sir Class and you're welcome to another tutorial. And on this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to spice up your drums using the CLA-2A compressor from Waves audio plugin. Now, the reason why I love the CLA-2A is because it pulls your entire your drum boss together. It makes it sound punchier, makes it sound warm and round. It just kind of glues the whole thing together without really distorting it or changing the overall character of the mix. It just makes it slightly warm, slightly more glued together, and preserves the pristine brightness that you had earlier. Some compressors tend to either take out the bars or crush the high end or make it sound flat or dull, but this just tries to preserve the natural sound of the drum while adding a little bit of texture and warmth to it. So I'll show you how I use this for my drum boss, and I'll walk you through my drum boss, how I was able to arrive at this master boss for my drums. Let's get started. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get tutorials and updates every day. I upload videos every day. I upload at least 3 times a week, if not every day, but I upload so often, and I'm always dropping knowledge that will surely help your game level up. So let's get started. Alright, so before I go into the CLA-2A properly, this is my drums. I like sorting out, color coding my mixes. So this is from an entire mix, but I just had to take out the other parts and so I can focus on the drums. This is my kick, already labeled, my 808s, percussions, more percussions, drum fills, and clap for kind of like my transitions. So I'll play the drum tracks, how you can listen to it, and then we'll look at each individual effect on the drums. Then we'll see how it all leads to me using the CLA-2A from Waves. Alright, pardon me. Alright, so that's how the drum currently sounds with the CLA-2A loaded up. So I'll bypass it, and of course we'll listen again. Alright, so now you can see how the loudness level dropped and how it became less warmer and how it became less glued as I took off the CLA-2A plugin. So let's look at my drum boss and each of the individual elements on each channel. Now on my kick, I have the stock EQ plugin from Cuabse. I just took out some high end, took out a little bit of low end because the kick was really powerful there and we didn't need all that power when we had an 808 coming. And then the 808, I did some EQ. You know, when you get your EQ right, sometimes you don't really need to sidechain when you get your EQ right. So some mixing engineers typically don't like spending so much time on getting their EQs done properly. So they end up, there's nothing bad with sidechaining, but I just don't see the need to do a sidechain that can just get my EQs done properly. So there'll be no phase issue or issue of overlapping. It just sits properly. The drums and the kick and the 808s sit properly. So with my 808, I have a stereo answer to make it, not really to make it more stereo per se, but to just I just kind of like want it to be more mono so that it's not spread across the channel so I can have more control over it. So This stereo also happen to have a mono plugin where I can just, if I take this off, it will be in stereo. If I put it here to be in mono, so I can increase the amount of mono I want on the instruments. Then of course my percussion, see EQ. Like I really take out time to get my EQs done properly. Some more equalizers, just equalizers, just equalizers mostly. So now where things got interesting was how I grouped my percussions. My percussions are all grouped to a channel. Nice, to a group channel. Here I had added a C1 compressor by Waves. I love the compressor also. Maybe I'll make a tutorial on this soon. This compressor is kind of transparent. It doesn't really do much with the coloring. It just does its work, which is to compress and keep it even and level, which is why I just used it. I could have used the default compressor from Cuabse, but I just felt like using this, no particular reason. I added a little bit of reverb to the percussions and all the other elements aside from the kick and the 808. So in here I have my kick, 808 and my percussion group channel entering my drum bus. Now I want to glue all these elements together because I don't want them to sound separated. That's why I had to do this grouping in this manner. Whether it's FL Studio I mix, or I mix on Pro Tools, or I mix on Cuabse. I like taking my sounds into groups, then later have a main group for all of them where I can have more control, because the more groups I have, the more control over the elements I have. So now here I have my kick, my 808s and my percussion group leading to my main drum bus right here. So to get it all to glue together, I decided to use a compressor that had that characteristic already. You can kind of do this with a regular compressor, but that will make you need to add maybe a little bit of saturation, a little bit of something that will warm it up a little, and that can cause some issues later on, like overhyped frequencies in certain range. I don't want that. I want to preserve the clarity of the audio and also control the dynamics of it. So over here we have the gain and the peak reduction. We have the meter. This meter tells you when it's clipping, so be careful to watch out for this meter. And also we have our input, so it tell you, do you want to focus on what is coming in or you focus what is coming out. So typically I focus on the outputs of the plugin. You can switch. Then peak reduction is kind of like the threshold. How much reduction do you want? Where do you want to start working from? So then the gain is how loud, there's gain compensation, how loud do you want it. Then do you want it to also serve as a limiter, or do you want it to just be a compressor? So I want it to just be a compressor, not as a limiter. So let's see how we can make our drum glue together. Now you can see when I increase the peak threshold, it starts over compressing the sounds. It doesn't sound as good as it should, so you be careful not to over apply your peak reduction. Just somewhere around here most times is fair, but make sure it does not be too obvious. We just need a little bit of control and also to glue the whole sound together. So this is just fine. Somewhere around here, the gain around 40 is fine, and the peak threshold or reduction at around 50 is also fine. Alright, so I had to adjust the gain a little to below 40, just a little bit more, because it was clipping here and we don't want it to clip, because it's going to pass through all other processes in the mix later on, and we're here to master, so we don't want any clip yet in our mix. So whenever it's showing red here, it means it's about to start clipping, or it's clipping already. So we want to stay safe by adjusting the gain and leaving the peak reduction somewhere around 50. So this is how I typically use the Waves CLA-2A for my drum boss. I use it for my master drum boss most times. I also use it for my vocals most times, but for my group vocal boss, if I want to like group a couple of vocals together and just apply an even compression on them, I do it sometimes, but most times it's for my main drum boss mix. I hope this helps. I have courses on Udemy. I have the link down below where you can take any of my music production courses, mixing and mastering courses. And I also have free sample packs in the description below where you can get free kits and loops that will help you enhance your production game. See you on the next episode. I remain Sir Classy. Hit the subscribe button. Cheers.